Yes, Hornets, how's it going? Welcome along to WD18, the Watford fan channel with Charlie Zazera, Sam Yuko, myself, Jacob Colshot, and all of you joining us on this Tuesday, wet Tuesday evening to talk all things Watford. You're probably thinking, is there anything else better to do on a Tuesday night than listen to us three Wallies talk about Watford? But we're back again to talk about what has actually been a pretty decent last week or so as we go into the international break, and it feels like we've had about 15 international breaks, doesn't it, up until this point? As always, we're brought to you in partnership with Hertfordshire Mind. We're going to be talking about the Ipswich draw away. We're going to be talking about the Bristol City draw at home. Then we're going to be talking about the upcoming fixtures and just the genuine question, as we see in the title: can Watford actually make the playoffs? Ben makes a great point, Charlie. Come on, lads, stop faffing. There was a little bit of a delay, wasn't there? There's a little bit of a pause. And we've actually had to transfer everybody from one stream to another. What's happened, Charlie?
Yeah, I'll hold my hands up. Mistake for me setting up the stream. Got wooed by a new bit of technology that got brought in, but failed. So had a bit of a Selvig. So sorry, lads. Hope I can make up for it as the stream goes on.
Sam, we really need to look in the mirror, don't we? Or what we're doing in a minute.
Yeah, listen, all eyes for me are on Charlie. I'll be turning up outside WD18 HQ shortly with my Zazera out banners and hopefully action taken from above Jacob, to be honest.
Where is the WD18 HQ, by the way?
That's a great question. Could be multiple places, actually.
Because it has to be in WD18, doesn't it, really? Wenzel's?
Yeah.
I thought that was a tap-in for Sam's usual plug for a certain establishment.
That is a good point, actually. And our HQ, the Mad Squirrel, 7-minute walk from Vicarage Road. You can try their new wintry beer. Charlie, what was the name for it again?
This is bad advertisement. I don't know. It had a chocolate. Sam took one taste of it and almost. Okay.
Was it as good as the kickoff beer brought to you in partnership with the Men's World Cup Mad Squirrel, which is just something I will float about. There will be an announcement coming soon on potentially round number 2, or technically round 3 if you include the tournament before, Charlie.
Yeah, no spoilers there, Jacob. Well done. Good tease.
I actually don't have one of those cans. I'm just having a look around now. I don't have one of those kickoff cans. I really should get one, shouldn't I? At least for display purposes.
I actually don't think they were only on sale for a limited time only, Sam, so you won't be able to get your hands on them.
I've missed out. Gutted.
Maybe I'm at the HQ. You never know.
Yeah, at the HQ.
Sam, talk to me before you. I was about to cut you off, but what were you going to say? It sounded really important.
No, it wasn't too important. I was going to say before we get into all things current Watford, it's been a busy few weeks for ex-Watford managers as well, hasn't it? I mean, if we're going back to Daichi, going back in at Nottingham Forest, a more minor talking point, but today it seems that Marco Silva is slightly unhappy at Fulham. I think there's a bit more nuance and a bit more in Silva's favour this time round than what occurred when he was at Watford, of course. But I think we need to talk about it. The big talking point with Rob Edwards going from Middlesbrough to Wolves, or at least it looks like he's going to Wolves. What are your thoughts on that, both of you?
I mean, where do we start? Look, Watford Football Club. It's a huge football club, most importantly. But what I would say about this whole thing, Charlie, is I actually think if you strip it back and you just looked at it purely from a factual sort of, and you weighed up the pros and cons, I understand it. I think where Rob doesn't help himself is the quotes and the interviews he does, talking about Middlesbrough as a family and every day I walk to the training ground and it's a privilege, and giving it the sort of big talk, the big sort of motivational quotes for the Borough fans to cling on to. And understandably, when he's doing fist pumps and he's celebrating, I guess that's the element of football. It can come back to bite you. But I think ultimately you understand why he's made the decision, but he just doesn't help himself with those quotes. And I think it gets made worse, the decision. Look, put it this way, lads. Would there really be the outcry and the reaction to this had that have not happened and had he have not given it the big interviews beforehand? I don't think so.
Yeah, but at the time, he's thinking, how does he get buy-in from the supporter base? Look, if anyone gets offered a new job nearer to home on more money and it is his club, like, I think I don't know. He is an ex-Luton manager. I almost forgot that, but so I can't give him too much credit. But I think it's clear that he's a decent bloke. And yeah, whether he goes down with Wolves or not, he's made that decision, and I don't think it's that bad of a situation for everyone. I think Wolves will be happy. I think even Borough will be happy. If you look at their kind of recent games, they're not getting any better under him. They came to Vicarage Road and got slapped. So yeah, no, and look, there's no, without going full Roy Keane, there's no loyalty in football, is there? Like, how many times have we seen managers get sacked? No one cares about their families and stuff like that at the time. So, look, he's made a decision for himself, whether it goes well or not. Fair play. If you want loyalty, get a dog.
Sam, what's a better job though, Wolves or Borough?
Yeah, difficult one. I think it's also incredibly difficult to weigh up who's more likely to be playing in the Premier League next season, because I mean, with what I think both of them will be playing Championship football next season. To be honest with you, I think it depends, of course, who Borough are going to bring in, but the trajectory of the performances, like you say, Charlie, they came to Vicarage Road and we walked all over them. You'd never have guessed they were a team in the top 3 when we played against them. So the trajectory is definitely downward. So it's difficult to say who's more likely to be playing in the Premier League. For me, and I think the big problem for Edwards now, and like I say, Jacob, I do understand it in terms of moving closer to home, but the big thing for me, if I was Rob Edwards, would be at least I didn't know too much about him when he was at Forest Green, but if I look at his moves from Watford to them lot down the road into Middlesbrough, one thing he was really big on when he first moved into those clubs was uniting people, uniting the fans, that man management, making sure fan, boards, and the players were all together as one. And I do think that now that's sort of gone. I don't think he can bring out those cliches again, because fans will see right through it. And I think that will immediately put him on the back foot, because I think fans he'll always have credit in the bank. Even when we interviewed him, Jacob, all those years ago, people came out of that interview going, wow, this guy really, really gets it. I know at Luton, obviously, he had that Watford link, but people came out of that going, he really gets it. And of course, at Middlesbrough, you watch his interview saying it's a privilege to be here, I love the training ground, etc. The Borough fans really bought into it. I don't think he can do that anymore, and I think immediately that might be a slight disadvantage for Rob Edwards.
I agree, and I think from my perspective, lads, just on this, let's not forget Edwards' stock was pretty low when he got that Borough job. Like, if you actually look at where he left Luton, obviously got relegated from the Premier League, that was expected, and they gave it a good go, in fairness. But the season after was a disaster.
Yeah.
And
I think we can say he got relegated because it was him. Let's be real.
Yeah, it was. And Steve Gibson's taken a gamble on Edwards when really not a lot of other teams were going near him from a championship point of view anyway. And it looked like the next job was going to be either a top end League One or a bottom championship or bottom half championship anyway. And it just felt, I don't know, it just feels like a good run. The opportunities come up. Let's make it clear though, it's not signed, sealed and delivered at the minute. You know, it has been delayed, and there could be a situation that he doesn't sign at Wolves and then his position at Middlesbrough is untenable anyway. I do think he will sign it for what it's worth. But I understand the frustration. I understand it from Edwards' perspective. He probably is surprised that this has come up so soon, really. And he probably thinks, will I get this opportunity again? He was interviewed, when I'm reading the Athletic piece, he was interviewed when Gary O'Neill was interviewed for the job initially, the first time round. And he was part of that. But I get it from Wolves' perspective, because you've got a guy who's a championship manager who has connections to the club. He might keep them up. I don't think he will, for what it's worth. But he'll probably go down and then he can build. He's signing a 3.5-year deal. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section of Rob Edwards. We thought we'd mention it just because obviously he was at Watford for 10 games, but it's another ex-Watford manager, and probably one to throw out there, Charlie, on Middlesbrough. I saw a couple of ex-Watford managers linked. I saw Slavan Bilic on the odds. I also saw Kike Flores on the odds.
Kike.
I think it will be Carlos Corberán, though, if I was going to guess.
You say you act a bit surprised that a couple of ex-Watford managers have been linked. Like the majority of them are. Yeah, I haven't. To be fair, the managerial merry-go-round is in full swing at the moment. Swansea got rid of their gaffer, didn't they, today? The interim that came in, but So it's interesting trying to keep abreast. And even though I was listening to Not the Top 20, they were suggesting Norwich should go in. I've got to say, like, friends of the channel, I don't know if anyone else watches them, and it's a bit of a hate watch, but the lads that taught Norwich City, or they're going through a rough spell. Chris Reeves and Jack Reeves, two great guys, produce similar to what we do, and they're going through it at the moment. It's a bit of a hate watch. It's a bit sick of me, but I feel for those boys. Hopefully they get a good manager, and I don't know. I like Norwich in the kind of way. I feel like we're blood brothers. But should we talk about Watford, because it's almost past my bedtime and we haven't even spoke about.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. We keep everybody
Just
waiting.
to throw in, by the way, it does look like Steven Gerrard's the favourite for Middlesbrough now.
And do you know what I love about Sam? He delivers it as if he's just been contacted on the phone. I've been informed. I'm hearing now. Stephen Gerrard is on his way up to the northeast. Anyway, let's get into Watford. Let's go back last week to Ipswich. And a point on the road, lads. I have to say, initially, I think that's a great result for Watford. To be fair, Ipswich are looking pretty free flowing, particularly at home going forwards. Sam would get excited by Corberan, surely.
Look, you know, old time viewers. I love. Sorry, I know we said we'd move on, but
no
Arne Slot's position at Liverpool could be under threat. Corberan to Liverpool. I don't mind it.
There's more chance of you getting the job, Sam, than Corberan.
I love Corberan. Top manager.
Anyway, what's more staggering, Watford came away with a point with a 0.34 XG to Ipswich's and 1.94. But did that tell the whole story, Charlie, about this one? Because I have to say, I thought we started well, first 15. I genuinely believe that goal was fully deserved at that point in the game. We started well away from home. You can see that little peak of Watford momentum in that first 15 minutes. From that point, less said about the better. We very much were on the back foot. But overall, we came away from Portman Road thinking that was a fair result, or did we get a little bit lucky?
I've no idea because I didn't watch it. So, Sam, could you give us a better review of the Ipswich game last week?
Yeah, I only got the last half an hour.
So let me ask myself the question.
I did put on the group chat earlier. I was like, yeah, just a heads up, guys. I didn't watch the full Ipswich game, so thanks for the Wesley Hoops and Daniel Batman at Coventry away pass, Charlie. Appreciate that.
I'll jump in. Fair 15. I thought, from what I can remember anyway, is what I will say. Watford started really well on the front foot away from home. Great work down the left-hand side for the goal. Lovely flick from Barr. Bowler with the cutback. Loser. After last Friday, that's 4 goals in 4 for him, which is, I'll tell you what, we need to be a little bit worried about potentially clubs coming in January, I think. I know Sunderland were being sort of rumoured at some point, but that was just Twitter talk anyway. From that point onwards, what I was annoyed about with Watford is we didn't kick on and get a second. And I know that's easier said than done away from home, but as soon as Ipswich got that equaliser, it just felt, as you can see by the momentum bar, it did swing. Second half, Javi made a couple of changes midway through the second half. Tried to rotate it, tried to freshen it up because obviously it is a 3-game week. Obviously, we play Saturday, then Tuesday, then Friday. So we understood the changes. The lineup he went with in the end was Dumbia and Semedo was a 2, which I didn't feel worked. And I think one thing I have noticed, lads, is that, and I mentioned it after on our group chat, is that we need one of those strikers to drop in to become a 10 to support Cipriano and Loser in the middle. It felt a little bit unbalanced having Ince and Barr on either side. I think Barr's better on the right-hand side. I think you're better off having, whether it's Iran Kunda, whether it's, I know Vata's injured, but even maybe Mama on the left-hand side. But Ince, I understood the reasoning to make it a bit more compact if we're not going to have a lot of the ball. Thought defensively we're good. And I have to say Selvik made a couple of really good saves second half to keep us in the game. So overall, we were good value for the point. But one of those games where, although I think we deserved the point, even though the XG says otherwise, we could have easily lost it had it not been for a good bit of defending. That would be my overall assessment. But Sam, what I will ask you is in sort of the grand scheme of the season, if you said before the game, would you take a point at Kieran McKenna's Ipswich, a manager who stayed at his club and didn't jump ship? You would have taken that?
Yeah, 100%. It's a really good point against the team who were in the Premier League not so long ago, and I actually think we might even be looking at this game in 5-10 games time and think, how on earth did we get a point? Because they're really starting to click into gear now, aren't they? I think they beat, was it Swansea 4-1 at the weekend away from home, who have also now just changed their manager. So like Charlie said, the merry-go-round is in full swing at the moment. So I think in the grand scheme of things, a 3-game week, a really tough game against Borough. I know we were quite comfortable in that in the end, but we did really well to get a point. Was it deserved? I'd say just about. I still don't think we defended unbelievably well. I thought Ipswich's finishing was atrocious, to be honest. And there's another to be honest.
Sorry, my two takes, and we'll get to Barr in the next game, possibly in his position. But how did the Banquet play? Obviously, he got the red card against Coventry. He didn't play against Bristol City, so he came into that back four. Jacob, how did the Banquet play? I'm guessing him and Pollock must have done it right to kind of keep those guys at bay.
Yeah, the back two were good. The back two were good against, as you guys mentioned, a really probably one of the best front lines in the division. When you look at George Hurst, you look at Chuba Akpom, that's a top quality championship. Two, Philogene on the left hand side, who had a bit of a tussle with one of his defenders. I forgot who the defender was in the end. That was bizarre. That was like a Lee Bowyer, Kieran Dyer situation. Not as bad as that, but it was a little bit odd. Abankar was good. I thought Loser again was our best player on the pitch. Selvik was good. Really poor goal though, lads. I don't know if you remember, but Ngaki completely lost his man and just sort of stood still flat-footed. So I guess the question is, Charlie, a lot of people are saying it in the comments, was that actually Watford defending well, or were Ipswich a bit wasteful? Because as we've seen from the other two results, they do know where the back of the net is.
I just feel like the only answers to these kind of teed up questions are it's a bit of both. But I don't know because I didn't see it, so it's hard to say. But I think to get a point there is really, really good. Like we've seen their last two games. I think they put 4 in the past the teams in the last 2 away games. I think that they've had loads of changes from the Premier League. So they're kind of getting used to those players. They look like they're clicking, and I think they'll be right up there. So a great point, I think. And then, yeah, we went on to Friday night, a couple of games later, if you guys want to move on. And
yeah, of course.
I think the thing that kind of I wanted to start with, but how good was it, Sam, from the Rookery maybe starting and see what the 1881 did, and then Jacob, you can probably say how the poppy display looked from where you were.
Yeah, it was a brilliant atmosphere the other night, and huge credit to the 1881, not just for the display, but throughout this season. I think over the last couple of years, it's maybe dropped off a little bit, not because of their efforts, but sometimes performances on the pitch will reflect the atmosphere of it, but they're still trying incredibly hard. Roy Moore, Phil Williams doing so much good. Seeing the flags out more and more this season as well. And I think it does make a huge difference to the atmosphere. So huge credit to them. And there was a huge push during the week for people to be in the Rookery early before the game on Friday, 10 minutes before. And it was absolutely packed. It was probably the most packed I've seen the Rookery this season. People really making a push to be in there for the display. And yeah, Jacob, you'll be able to give me a better sense of what it looked like in the ground, because when you're in it, you can't really see. But yeah, everyone around me taking part, and the pictures look brilliant too.
Yeah, incredible. Absolutely incredible. It reminded me of the 2014-15 season. I think when we played, was it Millwall at home? I think it was Millwall at home.
Was it the black and white kit?
The black and white kit.
Black and white kit. It really was. It was. I mean, both are absolutely quality, and yeah, looked amazing. I completely agree with Sam on the 1881. I also think that was our best atmosphere at home this season. Particularly that first 15 minutes was the loudest I've heard it in a while. Sam, I don't know from your perspective being in it, but from sort of sitting in the Graham Taylor stand, it felt really loud. And sort of Rio makes a good point here that the display helped with your song being the loudest it's been in a while as well. Also, the atmosphere at the start of the game reminded me of Leeds at home 2-2 under Cleverley. Because it had been a positive week as well, Sam. You know, we think about it was a win and a draw, and at home we were unbeaten in 4-5.
Unbeaten 4, yeah.
Yeah, but so there was something building, and I know people, if you're not a Watford fan, you're probably listening to that going, God, 4 games, how can you build something from that? But I think we're so used to this sort of short-termism that actually, in a weird way, it works the other way, where we can sort of get behind it. It's weird, isn't it, with this Watford team? You can fall out of love with it quite quickly, but you can also fall back in love with it quite quickly, or at least really like watching this Watford team. But atmosphere-wise, Sam, do you agree that it was one of the best, or has there been a better one this season?
I mean, I thought the Borough game was brilliant. The atmosphere during the entire Middlesbrough game was really, really good. There was that bit of edge to it, obviously, with Rob Edwards being in there, which I don't actually think was played up too much, to be fair, or as much as I thought it would be. We did a post-match pint afterwards, and I can't remember what we said in the immediate aftermath of it, but I thought the atmosphere at Middlesbrough was really good, and it was really good again for the first 20-25 minutes on Friday. Did drop off a little bit, and I think that was maybe the nature of the performance in the second half, but yeah, a really, really good atmosphere. And yeah, just to echo again what I said earlier and what you said, Jacob, but the 1881 play a really crucial role in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What I thought was interesting, Charlie, if we get on sort of the lineup, just sort of linking that Ipswich game into this one, it felt like quite a conservative team from having. What I mean by that on against Ipswich, if you look at sort of, we played with a back four, it was Inson and Gackia on the right-hand side, which kind of says all you need to know about what we would look. I think Javi before the game, if you said to him, would you take a point? He absolutely would have taken a point. This one felt a little bit more on the front foot, Charlie. If we go through it, was Selvik with a back three of Elaine, Pollock, Caben, Petris, and Bowler making up the wing backs with Kiembe and Loser, Kurumgor, Irankunda, Dumbia. Cipriani missed out with a slight knock. Hopefully he'll be back after the international break. When you look at that team on paper, Charlie, maybe bar Kiembe for Cipriani, it's probably one of the strongest teams we can put out in that formation.
I didn't like it. I think we've seen something of a kind of identity, and I think firstly kind of a bit of context about the game, especially with Bristol City's injury crisis. They had like 6 or 7 like first team players out. Obviously, it's the third game of a 3-game week for both of us. And I just felt the game was there to be taken, and kind of have his comments afterwards. I think he did suggest about players loads and getting players who are more fresh in, but I think we compromised a bit of what we've been good at, especially kind of the last game I went to, the Borough game. And I just thought having a back three kind of limited us. And when you looked at the most touches of the ball, it was Pollock, Elaine, and Caben, and it's like you want Imran Louza to be top of those charts to kind of dictate and play. And how the game panned out in a sense of kind of we had a really good start, and then we kind of dropped off, and second half it was kind of all of us. But I just frustrated with that back three because I just thought we didn't need an extra defender there. If anything, you want Louza dropping in and another attacker. It's interesting you said that, Jacob, that you thought it was offensive, because if you look and you're looking at 3 attackers, you would think so. But I thought the kind of alchemy of the team wasn't there. I liked Kiram Gore and Dumbia closer together. I felt in this game, I don't know if you guys felt in the ground, but I looked at the stats before, it was the most long passes we've played all season. And maybe that was because we had 3 up front, but I thought they were all just quite far apart. Whereas the Dumbia game, the Borough game, Dumbia and Kurumgard were a bit closer together, and I thought they worked better as a 2 instead of a 3. And I think Irankunda was a bit lost, but the game, we were never going to win. I think we all predicted that we were going to win. Callum Fowler, who I'm a fan of, he predicted we were going to win. Not the top 20. George Hillick said it was his nap that Watford could have win. So I'm glad I covered myself with a double chance bet. But do you guys agree with what I'm saying, or do you think? Why do you think we didn't win?
Well, Sam, my take on sort of the attacking perspective of, okay, 3 at the back isn't attacking, but both of our wing backs are aggressive and want to go forward. I mean, Petris, we all know, is better going forward than he is going backwards. Boda likes to bomb on and get to the touch, get to the bar line as well. I actually felt, and I don't like to single out one player, I didn't think Elaine had his best game, in fairness. And I think maybe the fact that Elaine was fresh maybe realised that Javi went, okay, let's move to a back 3 and put him in. But also, I think if you're going to play a midfield 2, Cipriano has to play next to Luz, and unfortunately we didn't have that choice. But we don't have another player like Cipriano defensively minded. And I just wonder whether that was part of the thinking there. If we played the midfield 2, would it leave us a little bit more exposed? Whereas Dumbia and Irankunda were sort of dropping in to make it a bit more compact. Now, I understand what you're saying, Charlie, because ultimately that was a Bristol City team that was like their second string. And if you actually look at it man for man, we've copied their lineup. So obviously they've got an extra man in midfield, but it's a 3 at the back, etc. And I actually thought for the first 20 minutes when we got that goal, we looked really, really good. And I actually felt even the first 30, we should have killed that game. We should have got a second and we should have kicked on. That was my issue really with Friday night rather than the lineup. I think there's been other games where the lineup's been a talking point, but actually I thought we were in control of that game for 30 minutes, Sam, and the fact we didn't get a second or a third was where sort of we let the game slip a little bit, and then they get a goal out of nothing with the free kick. So how did you see it on Friday?
Yeah, that's what the Championship does to you if you don't kill off games early. Because like you say, for that first 15, 20 minutes, I thought we were really, really good. But then after that, I saw a lot of issues in the performance. I can't remember what minute it was, but there was a small break in play at one point. And I think after that did slightly kill our momentum. But I came out of that first half, and I think, Jacob, you put it on our group chat, and I think it just showed how important Hector Kyprianou is to this Watford team, because in transition, I thought Bristol City, it was way too easy for them just to break through that midfield. And Kyprianou, his role, I think, is so good in just allowing to free up Imran Louza and the forward players. And without that, having that player in there, it just makes things a lot more difficult for us. And maybe it was a game for Papa Mendy in the middle. I think he was on the bench. I'm not 100% sure. But I think the setup was just slightly wrong, and we didn't rectify it when it was clear we're getting overrun. And I think we were lucky just to concede from a set piece and not from open play. And yeah, I saw issues with that front three as well. It's interesting, Charlie, what you say about the most long balls being played this season, because one of my concerns in the ground was I thought we were playing it too slowly and we weren't getting it forward quick enough. So those numbers are really interesting. I think Doumbia struggled not being as close to Kiran Gore in the middle of the park. He was a bit anonymous, Doumbia. And I love Aaron Kunda, and I don't want to, like you say, Jacob, a bit like Max Elaine, I don't want to go too into a young player, but he's been struggling recently, hasn't he? I don't think we can shy away from it when he has been playing. I'm not too sure why, but he's not been his usual self, has he?
Just like last take on the kind of setup, and I think which has been our biggest issue the whole season, it's just that inconsistency and the lack of, I think after we scored, they had a break of play down the right when they got in between, I think it was Petrie and Caben, and they created a chance from it. And from then, and that's where the kind of goal came from as well. Sorry, I think that was the first attempt they got down our left. And I just think it's that relationships and different players coming in, different system, like all season, it's just been changed. And do you know what I mean? I don't blame any of the players for that really, because there wasn't many like really bad individual performances, but just that miscommunication, Petrie getting wrong side, which led to the goal. Just that inconsistency. And I know I just thought, especially with an international break coming up, I think could we have had a more consistent lineup with 4-4-2 again and try and build. I thought Kiran Gore and Doumbia was so good against Borough, and I thought that could have been something we kind of hung our hat on, and Bar, I'd have liked to see him play. What did you guys think of Petrie?
I know Sam's a big fan of him. He's a fascinating one. I've that's probably the third time I've watched him live, and there was like a moment in the first half where he's nutmegged a Bristol City player, gone down the line, got to the touchline, crossed it in. I think it went for a corner, and you're like, okay, he's quite exciting going forward. But then the other way, there was a couple of times where he was caught out of position, and I think that. Sorry, Sam.
Did he concede the free kick as well?
Yeah, he did. He did, and I think that's ultimately why Ngakia is a more reliable and consistent option. Now, some would argue the goal at Ipswich is poor, but I mean, Semedo was poor for that, as were the back two, maybe could have come over. But I think with Ngakia, he's probably a safer pair of hands than Patrice is, and I think Patrice is better off the bench anyway. Against tired legs, someone as explosive as that makes a lot more sense to bring him off. And if we need to chase the game, whereas Ngakia, I don't know, I really like him. And just on that, lad, sorry, Sam, just before you cut in, I genuinely believe Gracia went with the 3 because Kyprianou wasn't playing. And I'll tell you why, because our best performance of the season at home was that Borough game. And Kyprianou would drop into the back 2 to pick up the ball and allow the two centre-backs to come out and the full-backs go on. It meant that Kiembe's not that type of player. We don't want Louza really doing that, because that's not where we want him to be picking up the ball. So I think ultimately that was the reason he went with the 3. And I think, judging by the balls that Max Elaine were playing, they were the most risk passes out of all 3 of the back 3. He was clearly told, if we're going to create from the back, it's going to have to come from you, because Pollock was passing it out to Caben. Caben was just passing out to Petris, but Alain was trying to play those breaking line passes, which, you know, some come off, some don't. I think he didn't have his best game, but the point is he was trying them. It felt like a clear tactic, really, with that. Sam, sorry, I jumped in there, mate. What were you going to say?
No. I am a big fan of Petris, but I think he did struggle the other night. It wasn't his best game. And I do think it did show, and this isn't a slight on Petri at all, because I think he's a really, really good option, particularly when you need to rotate. And I understand why he played the other night, but I think you can see why Jeremy Ngakia is potentially the first choice, particularly when we're playing in a back four. He's a bit of a safer option. But I also just wanted to talk about the other fullback, which is maybe where we should talk about the goal.
Yeah, nice.
Because I think Mark Bowler has been absolutely fantastic. Not just this week. I mean, he might have struggled a bit. Was it against Ipswich? Maybe he struggled a bit. I can't remember so many games so quickly now, but I think he's had a really, really positive start to life at Watford. And I know, is Caleb Wiley injured at the moment, or he might have been on the bench? I'm not too sure, but people thought Bowler would come in and be the understudy to Wiley. But I think, is it fair to say now that even if both are fit, I think Bowler's probably the starter, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so. I agree, Sam. He's been exceptional. And look, I don't think we should write Wiley off. I just think he's had injury issues, and that's probably why we've got him and why he's at the level he is. Do you know what I mean? Chelsea have taken a punt on him, but he can't stay fit. Footmob saying he has been suffering from a muscle injury. He wasn't on the bench. But we should remember that Wiley was really good when he played for us last season. So I'm sure there might be a spell if Bowler picks up an injury. Hopefully Wiley's ready to go. Just on Mark Bowler, that goal is really underrated. Like, everyone's talking about loser's pass, but to take that touch on his right foot and obviously the finish, that touch from a left back with his right foot. I know he's good mates with Eze. That was something that you'd see him do. But yeah, I've been really, really impressed with Bowler. And I think one thing that we're not utilising, especially like with Kurumgor and Dumbia, is his crossing abilities. I think he's got a really nice cross on him. I remember one against Swansea away, and Kurumgor, I think, hit the crossbar from it, but he's got a really good cross on him, and we're one of the lowest crossers in the division. I think we need to kind of utilise him, especially if we're playing with I know it was Rocco, but if we're playing with a right footer on the left cutting in, we should get Mark on that overlap. But yeah, I think he's got to be up there with probably one of the signings of the season. Maybe him and Cipriano, but I think he's right up there.
I agree. And I think there's probably a point to say, if we didn't play the back three, would he have been in that position anyway? So it's a double-edged sword, really, lads, on that one. But I agree. I like Bowler a lot. I think he's a proper championship left back who can do a job at left wing back. Probably the best we've had since Sema, who can do that role.
Sorry, one thing I didn't mention on the post-match point, but against Borough, which was one of his former teams, I loved the way he put himself about there. Like, he was proper going into a tackle. It felt like he'd had a bit of a point to prove, and I thought he was excellent in that game as well. Sorry for jumping in, Jacob.
No. I totally agree, lads. I think the ball from Loser is a ball which you come to expect from Loser, which is the level we're talking about with him. But the touch from Bowler on his weaker foot, as you said, and just to control the finish, it's a really, really good goal. Probably one of the best well-worked goals we've had all season. I think Sky billed Loser as the sort of championship quarterback after that pass. And I got the momentum bar up there, lads. We had a really good spell after that. That goal came on 6 minutes, and it was a really good start. And then it comes to around about 25, Sam, and we sort of are architects of our own downfall with that goal. I mean, Petrus gives the free kick away, but who's to blame there, Sam? Because I have to say, I think Selvik from free kicks is a huge concern for me. I was at Millwall away and I was stood behind the goal, and he's not the loudest of keepers, is what I will say. Having been that close to him, and maybe it was just that night, but I don't know if anyone else has been the away, and you don't hear him shouting. It's normally Pollock who's shouting at everybody else. And I remember Matty turning to him going, "Mate, are we going to set up the wall here?" And Negley scored the free kick, and I thought he should have saved it that night. I have to say, Sam, I think he should have done better with this one. How did you see that equaliser?
Yeah, it's a real weak point in his game, isn't it? Direct free kicks. That must be... So yeah, someone must be able to tell me, but that must be the fourth or fifth he's conceded in a Watford shirt from a direct free kick. So it's a real concern. when we were in the ground, I was thinking this does not look right. His positioning, I thought, was really, really poor from the off, particularly because Scott Twine's always going to shoot. I know the angle was a bit off, but he's probably the best free kick taker in the league, alongside Aaron Kunda and a couple of others maybe. But Twine has that over the last 4 or 5 years in the EFL, has consistently scored a solid 3 or 4 free kicks a season. So he's always going to shoot. But I bet when he was taking his run up, he couldn't believe the way that wall was set up and Selvic's positioning, thinking, how easy is this? And it was almost like he passed it into the net, didn't he? It was just really... And it was a bit similar to the Negley one. I know it was a completely different position, but there was no pace on the ball. And it was his poor positioning in the first place that completely took him out of the game. So, yeah, I think it's on Egil Selvik. And it's another mistake. And we speak about... It seems that he's a talking point every week recently, Egil Selvik, because either we're talking about an unbelievable game that he's had, such as at Ipswich, where he had a really, really good game, or he's making mistakes that are unfortunately costing Watford, and unfortunately that it was one of those the other night.
Before we get on to the second half, Charlie, I've just rewatched it now, and there's an angle if you want to rewatch it on Scott Twine's Instagram. I think it was posted by the EFL. And if you actually watch Twine, at no point does he look at the goal. He's looking at the players in the box. He puts his arm up, and it's only when he makes contact with the ball that he sort of reshapes his whole body. I think Selvik thought he was going to cross it there, judging by the way he positioned himself.
Not the top 20 lads made a point saying that Scott Twine, you see his free kicks and loads of keepers kind of bundle them in like that towards the post really low, because he managed to get like quite a lot of dip on it. But look, I think he should have done better there. Like a top keeper saves that. Like he said, he's conceded 3. The Ryan Manning one on his side against Southampton, as well as the Millwall one. It is a weak point to his game. There was a comment in there, I can't remember who said it, about his punching instead of catching, which is also quite frustrating. I think that might be a modern goalkeeping thing, but when there's an opportunity to just punch it, relieve your defenders, and keep possession, he's opting to punch it. However, I do think he is a really good goalkeeper for this level. He saved us a couple of times. Great save in the second half down to his left from long distance, and then that Sinclair Armstrong. So I don't think we should totally give up for him. I just think it's a weak point that hopefully he develops. Like he is Norway's number one, and he has had a slowish start, but I still think for us he's a solid keeper. And like if you look at his stats, like he's saving more than he should, so he's in a positive. So I don't want to hammer him too much.
Yeah, I think it was a performance that really summed up Selvik so far this season. In that first half, a bit of a nightmare, but the second half he saved us points. I think he's a fantastic goalkeeper, particularly at this level, Charlie. But yeah, those set pieces and dead balls is a part of the game that he really has to work on, because it is 3 free kicks. So it was Millwall Friday night, and when was the third free kick?
Southampton against Ryan Manning on his side.
It was. Yeah. So yeah, it's a real area that he's going to have to work on.
No, agreed. I think you guys are bang on there when you talk about the second half, though, because he made 2, if not 3, really decent saves. The Sinclair Armstrong one was the chance, really, if they were gonna steal the points. And I say steal the points only because Watford had the majority of the ball at 64% possession. We had the higher XG, we had the more shots, we had more big chances, but we failed to sort of capitalise on it. He made 3 subs at 60. Charlie, he brought in Ngaki and Mama and Bar on, and then he brought Gracia, Semedo and Ince on at 84. What have you made of Mama in the sort of cameos we've seen so far at Ipswich and at Bristol City? Because I'm going to put it out there. He reminds me a little bit of Samir Nasri.
Hopefully his taste in doctors isn't similar. I don't know if mine's a controversial take, but I was surprised to see him come on. I didn't see him against Ipswich. And I thought, to give him that much game time, I don't know who else was on the bench, but I thought it was quite a punt. You could tell he's an exciting player, but you can still tell he seemed quite lightweight, and like there was a moment he couldn't get control of the ball. I just thought I would have kept Aaron Kunda on and try with him, to be honest. Like, he was kind of exciting, but I just felt he was he didn't have too much composure. He was slightly lightweight. For sure, he's going to be a player, but I don't know what you guys think, but I don't know. I thought we've got more quality than over him to bring him on that early. What did you guys make of his appearance? He just looks very young and still very raw, and I think I would have kept on Irankunda personally.
Because he looked quite upset, didn't he, Sam, when he didn't come on at Middlesbrough at home? And I remember Loser sort of putting an arm around him saying, mate, like, your time will come, etc. I mean, on the ball, he looks bright from my perspective. Off the ball's probably the bit that he looks incredibly raw.
Yeah, I think raw on the ball as well. It was a game, another one that I think we really missed Rocco Vata. We still don't know how long he's going to be out for, but I thought we were crying out for that bit of... Nous is probably the wrong word because Rocco's still learning and he's still a young player, but having that one season so far under his belt, and you can see the difference in Mama, who's just having his first minutes now in English football, versus Vata, who's now also got that bit of composure as well. So I think we really missed that. I think as well, before I touch on Mama, I'm not a fan of Barr on the left. I think Barr is so good on the right and it's just not working. Because he seems, so far this season at least, to have played majority on the left, and it's just not the same because he can't have that explosive impact on his stronger side because he's having to be explosive but then think about cutting back in, which means he can't go at full pelt. So yeah, we need to put Barr back onto the right, I think. But yeah, Mama's really, really raw. It reminds me of so much of what we've seen already with Richarlison when he first came in, João Pedro when he first came in. That these things do take a little bit of time, and Spreer as well. I was actually thinking with the Spreer, I actually think he was maybe the most advanced out of those that I mentioned so far. But yeah, I think Mama, his touch was a little bit loose at times, and to release the ball too quickly or held it on for too long. It's all things that will come with time. But I think another reason Gracia threw him on there was because now with Vata's injury and managing Barr's minutes, we are, over this Christmas period, probably going to see more from him.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of games coming up, which we'll get into in just a second. We're going to have another 20 minutes. So if you do want to leave a like on the video, comment down below your thoughts. Any questions you have, let us know in the live chat. And if you're listening to this back, make sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. On sort of wingers, lads, I know you sort of mentioned him earlier, Sam. Is there a conversation to be had about Irankunda at the moment? And I know you said he's struggling. I thought he was poor on Friday night, if I'm honest. I thought he didn't use the ball great. He just, I don't know, it just didn't really work with him. And I think because we know the potential he has, and I think ultimately he's a moments player. So I'm not saying he was playing poorly before, but I think because he'd have big moments and a big impact on a game, you kind of forget the rest of his game. Does that make sense? Maybe that's a little bit harsh, but I don't know at the minute what his role is, Charlie. Maybe one for you, and what we want to see from him, because it just feels a little bit confused at the minute.
Yeah, I think it's tough. I see him as a number 10. I think we saw him at his best when he was kind of a second striker under Pezzolano at the start of the season, when he had the ability to roam around and cause havoc. Like we said about it with Rocco, especially when Javi came in, could he play on that left side? And it's a shame because we won't get any opportunity to work with him because he's going to be away with Australia. But I see that as his potential opportunity to be on that left. He's going to have to work on his out possession work, being disciplined. But if he can stay in shape, receive on the left, and even drift in as much as he can, kind of in possession when he doesn't have the defensive duties. Again, how many times have we said this on this video alone? Another young player, he's going to be inconsistent. You could tell he's got massive, massive ability. And I think if he clicks, he could be like one of our best players. I generally believe that because you can see the way he takes the ball. You can see the way he beats the player. You see his technique on free kicks and his shooting ability. The problem with him now is getting consistent minutes. And I just don't think he suits the 4-4-2 that Javi's going to want to play. And I thought Friday was a really big opportunity for him to go, no, look, I should be in your team. And I think at the moment he's overthinking things and he's making bad decisions, which you expect from a younger player. But I thought like it was a real missed opportunity for him on Friday, which was a shame because it's interesting with him because we own him, like he's our player. So we're going to need to find a role with him because I think his ceiling is really high.
But yeah, I guess he would argue, Sam, he hasn't had a lot of consistency in terms of, obviously he's had 2 different managers already, but in terms of his role and maybe what his role actually is.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's difficult, and I feel a little bit sorry for him because he completely burst onto the scene with those free kicks away at Swansea and Southampton, and I feel like his expectations from there completely rose, not just within the fan base but within himself as well. But then when you get into a real rhythm within the Championship, it is a really, really difficult league. And I think we just have to be a bit patient with him. He's a really, really good player. He's still working out himself what his best position is, and also the club are working out the best position for him as well. So I think it will come with some of our players as well that we mentioned before, with Pedro, with Asprilla. Asprilla particularly, like, it did take him some time to really hit the ground running and work out his role. So I think we just have to be a bit patient. But is it just me, or since that free kick against Southampton, we've had no free kicks in shooting territory as well? I actually can't think of a free kick we've had in a decent position. So teams are also being a lot more careful around the box with us, I think, which is credit to him as well.
Yeah, he hasn't been the same since he got hooked by Pezzolano. Like his confidence obviously has taken a real knock from that. So I think Sam's spot on there. We need to be patient with him. When we see so much talent, we want more, but let's remember, what is he, 20? And I think then another really good comment, it's been hard for him with all the travelling. He's done 3 trips, do you know what I mean? Long trips to Australia and back, and then not being in the team. So, yeah, let's stick by him because, 1, I think he's a really great player, and 2, I think he's really good personality as well. I think we've got a good egg in the building there.
Yeah, I agree. I just worry for him in terms of where would he play in that 4-2-2-2, because I don't think Javi will ever play him on the left. So he'll have to play as a striker. That's food for thought, because realistically, unless we play the back 3, that's a natural role for him. If you play the 4-4-2, if you want to call it that as a simple terms, I can't see him playing on the left.
Did we think the same about Rocco? And he played really well, especially that West Brom game. Can he be coached to be in that 4?
Yeah, I guess it'd have to be that. It'd have to be coached. I think Vata's a more natural player in that left wing at the minute than Irankunda. But I mean, to be fair, I think Rio makes a good point. I'd rather him as a striker option than Semedo at the minute. And I know that's, again, a bit harsh on Semedo, but I probably would, to be fair, from what I've seen. Lads, second half, any other takeaways? As I said at the top, I think we should have really kicked on after the first goal. Bristol City pull one back, kind of against the run of play, and they probably look like the side who were more likely to score a winner, Sam. From your perspective, I guess from a wider perspective, 5 points in the last week. How do you look back on that?
Yeah, like Charlie said before, it's so easy to say a bit of both between a half glass full and a half glass empty. Because I think I was probably just about taken 5 points. Maybe I'd wanted 6, win the home games and accept a defeat against Ipswich. But it's a week unbeaten. I just feel like we really could have got more from Friday night. It probably did catch up to us having those 3 games in a week, and we could have done with another couple of days off, and maybe even not done with the Friday night game. And if the game was on a Saturday and we had that extra day to recover, who knows? But I'm not using that as an excuse, because it's the Championship and we're coming up now to Christmas after this international break, where we're going to be playing 3 games a week now for the next couple of months. So we're going to have to get used to it. We're going to have to utilise the squad. We talk about Petrus versus Ngakia. We talk about Mama on the wing, Irankunda. All of these players are now going to have to step up, because there is going to be opportunities for everyone during this period. So, yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how we do.
For sure. This is sort of our November. So since the last international break anyway to this one, this was sort of our return. So our first game was obviously Javi's first game back away at Sheffield United. So 2 defeats, 2 draws, 2 wins. Charlie, when you look at those block of 6 games, 3, 6, 9, 11 points out of a possible 18.
Yeah, I think that's a half decent return. I think we all feared going into when Javi came back, looking at those fixtures. There's different contexts with different games about the different results we should have got. And yeah, I think as a whole, I think it's fair to say it would have been good to get more points on the board. But if you look at it before that run, you might have been happy. I think we've looked a bit more consistent and a bit better defensively. I think the vibes are better, which are good. So
you
now
love the vibes. You love the vibes.
it's important. It's a crucial thing. If we, do you know what I mean? If we won our first 2 and then lost the last 4, like we'd be talking about Happy's future and nonsense like that. So I do think it's interesting because we'll get to our league position, but I think going into this next stretch, this next 6 games ahead of Christmas, we are in a decent position. I do think Rocco Vatta's a huge miss because I think that performance against West Brom was really promising. But I think looking at the fixtures now we've got coming up, it's just a shame bloody Derby have won 5 in a row, because I think before that we'd have gone, yeah, that'd have been a decent away game for us. But I don't think it's too bad. I think it could have been a little bit better, but there's definitely a world where it could have been a lot worse.
No, agreed. And actually, lads, the fact that we've only had 2 defeats since Hull at home, when you it's weird because when Pezzano was here in that last week, it was a 7-point week. So it's actually been pretty decent since, in terms of results wise, overall since Millwall away, which was obviously not great. But what is interesting, and I wanted to just show this and sort of answer the question of our title, which is, can Watford actually make the playoffs? So if we compare where we are now compared to the previous seasons, so last season, we're 5 points worse off than where we were this time last season. We're 2 points better off than we were in 23-24. We're on exactly the same as we were in 22-23. We finished 11th that season. Then you look at the promotion season, 7 points worse. Another promotion season, 9 points worse. But I think we all knew in that 2014-15 season something was happening early doors, in fairness.
That's really interesting, though.
Yeah, really interesting. So when you look at the last 3, lads, I guess that's probably the most fair, sort of the last 3 seasons in the Championship. Which season, Sam, do you feel like it's more like at the minute? Because the points are saying it's like the 22-23, where we had a standout player in João Pedro. He was the glue for everything, and it was a bit unstable. It was a little bit chaotic, but we had some good days, but more often than not, we had some bad ones. How do you see it at the minute out of those last 3?
Difficult to compare because of circumstances and what was said in the summer, with this being all out a promotion push from what was said. I do think there is a little difference with this season, because you mentioned there in 2022-23 being a João Pedro season, 23-24, you can very much say it was a Yasser Asprilla season. And last season, you can say it was very much in the first half of the season, a Georgie Chafatazzi season with Imran Loser in the second half of the season. I think this year, while Loser has clearly been the standout, we are more of a well-rounded team as a collective, which I think sets us up better in the second half of the season, which let us down in those previous years. And I do feel we're better set up going into the second half of the season than those previous years. So it's it's interesting, but I think there's also still a whole load of unknowns with this Watford team. I don't think we know our best team yet. I think we're getting there slowly. I think what the other night against Bristol City showed is our best formation is definitely the 4-4-2 or the 4-2-2-2. So, yeah, I think we're slowly starting to learn, but I think there is a big difference with this season compared to the other ones. It's I mean, just going back to the results as well, sorry, just to move away from this. The results are weird because I also feel like we should have got slightly more, at least if you look at it from a game-by-game basis. I think we should have got more from Bristol City. And we should have got more from the Coventry game as well. If we took our chances in that first half, I think probably and Sheffield United as well, we should have performed a lot better. So, yeah, mixed bag, but positives definitely.
Mixed bag. And also, lads, just to throw out there, we're on exactly the same points as we were under Zola, which is weird because when you flip it like that, I know it's obviously context very specific, but the fact that we're on the exact same points in that season where we finished 3rd.
I'm just so used to Watford starting well and then just fading off after Christmas. I feel like that's been the pattern for the last decade. So
it's almost like a half season where it's like get to January and then...
Yeah. I know I'm taking Premier League into account, but even in the Championship, it feels like we've had a better start than the second end we've just fallen off. But I think Sam's made a good point there about being in better shape as a team with Javi, and we've seen what we can do, and with the squad. We talk about Irankunda there, but the fact that Rocco Vatta's got a big injury and we've still got a player like him who's coming off the bench. So, yeah, lots of things I think to be positive. And the biggest thing that shocked me, and we've got it in the thumbnail, and that is, I was feeling really positive, and then I looked at the league table. I was like, "What? We're 15th. What's that about?" So what's the truth, Jacob, with the championship?
It's like that meme, that Formula One meme, where he's like, "Where are we going to finish? 16th." I mean, look. If we take a step back, it's quite obvious by body language that these players are enjoying their football a lot more. I mean, it's regardless of the results, and actually the results have been pretty good last 6. I'd take 11 points, to be fair. If you said that to me before Sheffield United, I'm sure Javi would have taken that as well. There is signs that this team is gelling. I actually think weirdly, I know it's weird, lads. I was most encouraged by that Coventry defeat. We went away to probably not even probably, the most informed team in the division and at home, and should have got something out of the game. Really, and Coventry are a better team than us. So I think that said a lot about where this Watford team are. Are we genuine playoff contenders? Look, going to sit on the fence. It is hard to call it at this moment in time. I feel like this team, and I said it to you lads before, screams 11th. It will depend a lot on injuries coming back. I think Vat is a big blow. I think Chakvedadze is a huge one. I mean, if he gets up to fitness, buts and maybes, but if he gets up to fitness, that's another string to our bow, and a man who would really suit that left wing position, I think. Drifting inside, can kind of roam, do his thing in that sort of Pereira mould where he's got the technical ability to do it. I think that's a big thing. But I think
it would be like signing a £10 million player, wouldn't it?
It would. It completely elevates our team straight away. So I'm not going to say we're out of it, and I'm also not going to say we're in it. But if you were going to say to me right here, right now, I'd still back us to be top half, but sort of 11th, 10th.
So you don't think we'll make playoffs?
No.
Sam?
No. I think if you look at the result, the last 6 results, and aside from context, but if you look at the colours, Jacob, if you're able to get it back up quickly, if that's okay. Yeah. I think it epitomises why I don't think Watford will get promoted this season. If you look at our results, it's just too inconsistent. We really, really need to get a run of form together, a consistent run of form, and I'm talking 5 or 6 games, a bit like we're going to Derby next, and they must be just outside the playoff places at the moment, having started the season really poorly. They've just had an unbelievable set of games, and we really, really need that. Our away form isn't good enough, and I don't think we're killing off games when we really should be. So I think you're right, Jacob. I think it's going to be very mid-table. I think we'll be in and around it until about 10 games to go or so, but I just don't think we're consistent enough. And it does, I'm not going to talk about next season, but it makes me worry for next season, to be honest, if we don't go up.
Charlie, I'll throw this one over to you. I mean, look at the home table. Coventry, who are top of the Championship, have exactly the same home record as us. Granted, they've played 1 game less. Look at that away form. 3 points on the road in 7. The worst record in the Championship this season. Ultimately, lads, if we want to be genuine playoff contenders, and I'll throw this one over to you, Charlie, we've got to win more on the road. It's just been horrific away from home for the travelling supporters.
Yeah, and I think that's why that Ipswich result was probably more positive than we think. And although we might have preferred to lose there and win against Bristol City, that might actually do us better stead in the long run. Just a couple of other stats while that's in my head. We are 4th highest for tackles in our defensive third, which suggests our defenders are doing really well. Ngakia's got the bulk of those, but we are bottom for the middle third and the attacking third. And that's where I think not having Cipriano in there, winning duels, and even when I don't think we're going to be a team that's going to be high pressing, but we haven't been kind of doing that. But I think that midfield needs to, whether we get Hector back fit or Mendy's given a chance, I don't think we can rely on Koembe and Sissoko to be the destroyers we need them to be, and dynamic enough to release losers. So plenty of positives.
Sam, couple of comments just before we go. Theo says, if we stay there or thereabouts for players to come back, then the chances there is all about staying in as long as possible and hit some luck with a run of form. But when have we ever seen that? Rio says 5 wins, 5 draws, 5 defeats from 50 games just screams mid-table. Not forgetting Chakvedadze is coming back. Ben says a couple of good tweaks in January and it could click. Hacker says the level of the Championship is a bit better overall this year. What's our best formation? Is it the 3? Is it the 4? Let us know. Sam, let us know your prediction then for Derby.
Derby away.
Already?
Yeah, we'll go with Derby away. Yeah, I'll have an updated prediction league next time we go live, but I can confirm we all got 0 points. When all three of us predicted us to beat Bristol City, as soon as we all said we'd win, it was obvious that we wouldn't. So Derby away, I'm going to go a 2-1 defeat.
I think we'll go very conservative again and try and nick it. I think it'll be 1-1.
Oh, we know what's coming here. Oh,
I need to catch up ground, so I'm going to go for a Watford 3-1 win.
Oh my word! Derby away last season was one of the best away days, wasn't it, Sam?
It certainly
yeah.
was.
You know what? If you think about the amount of games I go to, that's the last time I've seen Watford win away.
Wow. What month was that?
Like January last year, February last year.
Goodness me. So it's Derby up next, then Preston at home, and then Birmingham away. That is the next week from next week. You know what I mean? 3-3-1-1. We shall see. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. We're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us on this Tuesday night. A really cold Tuesday night as well. It is getting a little bit rubbish, isn't it, weather-wise? But hopefully Watford can keep their unbeaten run at home going and improve that form on the road as well. Thanks so much to Sam and Charlie for joining us. And thank you to all of you who joined us as well. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe to WD18, comment down below your thoughts, turn on your post notifications, all that good stuff. And we will see you probably sometime soon to talk about Watford again. Keep spotting the Hornets, keep smiling, and have a good one. Take care. Up the Hornets. You want?